All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Dialogue for Justice Q&A session. We are now on the third year of this hybrid world forum where we engage people in different parts of the world about That's why we're live. That's what happened when we're live. Let's continue. All right. Okay, let's do it again, folks. Shall we? Okay, so again,
Okay,
welcome to the Global Dialogue for Justice Q&A session. We are on the third year of this hybrid world forum where we engage people from different parts of the world about the injustices, the suffering of innocent people and animals inflicted upon by cruel individuals and brutal regime. Before I introduce our distinguished host, well, I'm now hosting this and introduce our guest. I would like to welcome you from the beautiful city of Tbilisi, Republic of Georgia, Gamarjova. Tonight with me is someone I admire very much. He is a former Turkish military diplomat and the author of Erdocide, The Creepiest Human Trauma, Colonel Huseyin Demirtas. And also, it's a great honor and a real pleasure to introduce our special guest, a well-known director, author, and scholar from Norway. And he's the director and writer of the documentary A Gift from God, Yersen Lorentzen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Colonel, it's really, it's a tremendous honor having this. It's an opportunity for us to share the voices of the people who are suffering under a brutal dictator and a brutal regime, and we have talked about this is the third year. And so tonight we're going to explore, we're going to ask a question, and people on watching us tonight can also, of course, ask question and how where we are now after 6 years of the coup, the so-called the so-called coup, because many people don't believe that it was many people believe it was orchestrated. It was from the regime, and so that's why we are here, and we're trying to continue to learn about it because there's so many people are suffering right now. There are babies in prison, there are mothers in prison, there are young cadets imprisoned for life. There are enforced disappearance. There's a lot of so many things happening in Turkey while the world is silent and complacent, and this is not acceptable. We should never remain silent in the face of injustice. So, Colonel, so please say hello to our viewers and yes, and welcome everybody.
hello again. But you summarize excellently. So it's very important. So somebody as international, some academics, to describe the situation in Turkey, so detailed describing, it's very important because, as you said, lots of innocent people, they are having the lack of independence, freedom of physical freedom, also freedom of expression, and they are not able to talk about their rights. They are not able to look or search for their lives also. So it's very important. But we are having now a very important guest, Jorgen. He is a very colorful personality. He is a friend of mine, and he's an academic. He's an intellect. He has a political career, and he is a producer. Yeah, he's very important for me, and I knew him just 2018. Yeah, Jorgen?
Yes, yes,
So we worked together on a documentary, which is a gift from God. But this documentary is also very important because it is the only documentary which has an international fames. So, hello, Jorgen.
hello, Hussein. How are
So,
you?
thanks a lot. So, Jorgen, can you talk about a little bit about yourself, but uh, mainly later on we will talk about the I call it 15 July event.
Yes,
The other people call it a coup attempt. Some say some as I said before, maybe you remember. I called it pseudo coup.
yeah,
Yeah,
pseudo
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
So talk about yourself a little bit,
yes.
and our viewers
No.
learn something about you.
Thank
Then
you,
we'll
Hussein, and
talk about
thank you,
this.
Mert, for hosting this session. I'm very pleased to be here. It's an honor to take part in the dialogue, and I think these forms of dialogue, cross-cultural, cross-political, international dialogues, is the way to create peace and understanding between people and cultures. So, of course, this is what we need much more of, I think, in the future, especially when you look at the world today, it doesn't look really good. And you have a war in Europe, and you have big conflicts, and the situation in Turkey is not really improving. So we need to have really a lot of dialogues to try to see if we can improve the democratic situation of the world. So I'm a professor from the University of Oslo, but the last few years I've basically been working with documentary films. And one of the reasons is that 15th of July 2016, I was in Turkey together with my family there. And we experienced the coup attempt very close to several of our families and people I know from different cities in Istanbul and Ankara. So very quickly, you know, a lot of people are watching it on television, changing between the different channels, trying to understand what the heck is going on here. You know, it was very hard to understand what's happening. It didn't really look like a coup, you know. It was a couple of flights flying over Ankara, and it was some tanks. We saw some tanks on the bridge, and you know, it was really difficult. So we were really watching and trying to understand it. And then I remember very well one of my family members, older family members, saying that, you know, I have been experiencing several coups in Turkey. This is not a coup. And that
Really?
sentence was hitting my brain as a researcher, as an intellectual, as a journalist, you can say. And I said, so here it is something spooky. We have to try to find out what's happening here. So after that, I started researching it for years and ending up in the documentary film, A Gift from God. That was launched in 2018, as Hussein said, and Hussein is also taking part in the film, and I'm very glad to work with Hussein with this film and other people, of course. Because the first years, and this is very interesting when it comes to this event, is that the first couple of years after the coup attempt, it was not, almost impossible to find people that would talk or that would know what's happening or say anything about what's happening. I didn't really get people to say, what is this all about? You know, what's happening here? It was a small stories here and small stories there from all over, just painting a very chaotic picture, actually. So, so then I understood that if this is a planned coup attempt from one group within the military, it seems very, very strange. Because if you do a coup attempt like that, you plan it. You have plans. There will exist plans. You know, there will exist sketches and maps and things that we could find. You know, that the regime could present to us, saying, "Here, look here. Here is the draft of this coup attempt." But nothing exists. No plans, no drafts, no structure. And what I found after researching the bombing of the parliament, the bombing of the outside of the president's palace, the bridge, the event at the bridge, the helicopter they sent down to Marmaris to sort of catch the president. Everything was just disappearing into nothing, basically. So then I started being very, very skeptical about it. And after a few years, we got people slowly to start talking about what is happening. So I'm very glad that we had prominent journalists like Jana Takli, Ahmetçik, Nevşin Mengü speaking in the documentary and telling about how they experience it, how they see it, you know. And even those very, very prominent and among the best journalists in Turkey for decades, they are not able to put the pieces together and tell what this is really about.
So, Mr. Lawrenson, I have a question. From when you did it in 2016 and this investigation, what are there major changes that happened over the years within the Turkish people and how their experiences and even how their situations? Was there now changes in your view?
Yes, and it's I'm sad to say it's not the changes to the better. Slowly, it has been an ongoing fall of the Turkish Republic. You can say the situation in Turkey is worse than I don't know ever almost since 1923. You could see that, of course, after the coup attempt, Erdogan immediately during that night and the next days arrested thousands and thousands of people. You know, closed down schools, organizations, papers, media houses, and starting arrested more than 100,000 people. But the thing is that we hope that, okay, let us say that he accused some people for being part of the coup attempt and being behind it, then you will arrest people for the next couple of months, perhaps. But the thing is that he's keeping on arresting people now, 5 years, 6 years after the coup attempt, accusing them for being a part of the coup attempt. How is that possible? You know, you can say. And as we all know, we all know Turkey is the country with most journalists in prison today. So and we also know that the court system is not working at all. And of course, he fired, he kicked out thousands of judges and lawyers. They are not able to work, and he has put in a lot of different people there that are just obeying him, and it's not a system where justice is functioning. And we see it, especially we have seen it in the last years with the Osman Kavala case. It's a ridiculous case, you know. It's just we can almost laugh. We cannot say if we want to laugh or cry when we look at what's going on there. And the judges are helpless. They don't do their job. They just listen to what the commands are saying that they have to do. So the situation now, and when we look at the economical situation, the prices of the situation of Turkey and the situation of the people, I mean, it's worse than ever. No freedom of speech, no human rights. People are put in and out of prison as the regime wants to. They are playing games with NATO. NATO now, with Sweden and Denmark, which is a terrible situation, and he's just playing games with them,
But
and
there
he's
must be some
very-
accountability here, Mr. Lawrenson, to the international community. The Republic of Turkey must answer to all these things, the injustices, and this is a crimes against humanity, pretty much, that is being recorded in
Yes.
many cases. And so, how is Turkey not being held accountable right now? Because it's really critical that it must happen, that they have to answer for all these crimes that is happening. And so I seen from your investigation that you believe that the Western agencies, the West know about what Erdogan is doing, and at the same time nothing is going on.
Yeah.
Nothing is being done.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's true. I think that the Western Intelligence Service, even if it is the German, the EU, the Americans, the CIA, they all know much more about what happened that night. The Russians know for sure more. I would try to investigate a little bit into Russia and Russian taking part and how they play their game in the coup attempt. So it's a lot of international institutions that know more about it, but they're not releasing it. They're not talking about it. And when I spoke with the German intelligence service, they said that yes, they don't think Fethullah Gulen is behind the coup attempt. And when I asked them, so who do you think is behind the coup attempt? I said, we cannot answer that question. So they have more information, but they don't want to release it. And I'm looking forward to the day that we can have all this information released. But it's an implication here that you are also hinting at, and that is, it is too dangerous, I think, for the other NATO countries and EU to confront Turkey fully. That's why they are keeping silent. That's why they are, just falling on the knees in front of. And I think it's pathetic to look at, actually, the way they are just crawling in front of Erdogan and his way of talking, which is it's talking like no, not like a leader of a democratic country.
So he's got a lot of leverage. The Erdogan government has leverage, so that he can make the countries, even my country, silent about this. We can see in a plain view all the injustices, all these crimes that's happening, but there's nothing we can do. I think in today's day and age, I don't know why we can't, as a global community, collectively. Do you think, Mr. Lawrence and Colonel, if we act collectively, do you think something will happen? Just like what Putin is doing in Ukraine. So we can't just sit still and watch something like this. Colonel, what do you think?
So it's out of your voice. Can you hear me?
You're still choppy, Colonel. So, Mr. Lawrenson, what do you think we should do?
Yeah, the thing is that the West and the European countries, I think they're afraid that Turkey will, and this is also what Erdogan is threatening with, that he will withdraw from NATO. I said it several times, that he is ready to withdraw from NATO. It's not that easy, of course, but that's what he's threatening with. And they are afraid that he will form a new alliance with Russia, and he has had a lot of close contact with Putin and Russia since 2016, after the coup attempt. Half a year before the coup attempt, you have to remember, it was a very high tension between Russia and Turkey, because Turkey shot down one of the jets of the Russian army over Syria. So it's a very, very high tension after December 2015. But then, after the coup attempt, it has been a very close relationship between Turkey and Russia. So of course the rest of NATO is very afraid that Turkey will leave NATO, form an alliance, a more Eastern related alliance with Iran, Iraq, could be other countries in the Middle East, Russia. It could be the other Sovjetistans in between Russia and Turkey, and that will NATO would feel that as a big threat and danger. So I think that's why they are not confronting Erdogan. You know, he has been calling Merkel a couple of years ago for a fascist and a Nazi. You know, and she didn't reply. You know, she said, you know, they don't reply to him when he is using all these words against European leaders. Recently, Süleyman Soylu, the Minister of Interior Affairs, he was having a speech where he was walking around yelling at US, you know, that Americans are now wanting to make all women in Turkey into men and all men into women. You know, they all want to force us to do these LGBT things. You know, this is the way they are speaking and talking about our allies. They are just saying a lot of bullshit all the time, but European countries are not responding to it. And a second thing I would like to remember, I would like to mention, Turkey has nuclear weapons at their ground, put there by the Americans many years ago. So these 15 nuclear warheads that they have is of course a danger if Turkey is withdrawing. Then it will stay there and suddenly Turkey will be a nuclear nation. And at the same time, it's a political difficult situation for US to withdraw these nuclear warheads, which I think they absolutely should do.
So it's really unfortunate that this is, you know, this is happening. So I think me as an educator, I look toward the younger generation to make changes in this world, to fix the things that we cannot fix. So I think having this kind of dialogue, you know, where, you know, we'll be providing them with this kind of, you know, information and
Yeah.
this real happening. For example, this year's global dialogue, we have Erhan Dohan, who's told his story about his torture that he suffered in Ankara,
Yeah.
and it's truly, it's heartbreaking, and we
Heartbreaking.
admire his courage for sharing his stories, and we have this on record, and we'll be sharing it with, you know, universities and you know, in the United States and in different places, because these are real. This is his experience,
It's
and
real.
you know, and it's truly admirable. And also Dr. Bayram Arzurumulu and Ms. Norcel, they are fighting for their jobs to get their jobs back in academia, and it's just not it's injustice. It's a
Yeah.
real injustice, and
Huge
you know,
injustice.
yes.
And I
So
think it's very important, you know, the stories by the people that have experienced the torture, the beating by Sadat, by Erdogan's soldiers, by the police. They should all talk about it, you know. This is the only way to get people to understand what is going on and what has happened. Because like he was just taken in the stairs of his school and started being beaten by hooligans, you know, Sadat hooligans, and they have been trained and supported by Erdogan for years. So it's very important that this information is getting out. And I agree with you. I think the youth is the one we have to believe in and hope that they will make change now in the coming years in Turkey.
I
Colonel,
interrupt. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I I have some connection problems. Can you hear me now?
Can barely hear you.
Uh,
Speak slowly, perhaps.
okay, so I will try to speak slowly. Can you understand me now? No, so sorry. So it will go on. So I have some problem without citizens or nations. I'm writing now.
So, okay. So, Colonel, I'm sorry, but we're probably going to do on the message for in the next few days. We're going to receive more questions there, and maybe you can help us by answering on those the message board on our dialogue because what your ideas and your experience we need the world must hear, and it's very very important. You've written a book, Erdocide, the Creepiest Human Trauma, and I think students must read this one because it's an account. It's not. It's real. These are real situations and experiences, and I think it's very important that you get to share this with the young people. And so I have one more question for you, Mr. Lawrenson.
Yes,
So
please.
it's very hard. The election is coming in Turkey, and do you think that there is, because there's this division that's going on, divided by political ideologies and even religion and the culture is very diverse. And so it's when we say we want to act collectively, it's kind of very hard when a society is diverse and divided. But I think there is hope when there's election coming. So what do you think? How is the impact or maybe the implication of the coming election to what's going on in Turkey?
It's of course very, very important, the election next year. And I think it will be a turning point because Erdogan has been looking forward to this election for a long time because it's sort of it's the 100 years after the start of beginning of the republic, and he wants to make himself into a special figure in the history of Turkey. So I think it's very, very important what's happening. And for me, the most important thing is that opposition is trying to work together to find a majority in the parliament to form a new government. Because this is also a problem in Turkey, that the opposition has not been really able to work together in a smart way. So while the opposition is split, Erdogan can do whatever he wants. He can work with one party one time and then the next party the next year and go on like that. The polls are positive because the polls tells us that Erdogan is not that popular anymore. But of course, then we have to ask how fair will the election be next year? And let us hope that it will be possibility to have a fair election, and then I think it will be a possibility to have a change of government. And Turkey needs that. That's for sure.
Yes, it's true. But it seems like every time there's an election or he feels that he's going to lose, he creates some kind of chaos, some kind of trouble. And so I think the Turkish people must pay attention, or maybe they already know. And maybe they're expecting that in this coming election, something could happen. And
Yeah.
I'm just wishing that the Turkish people will push through and will fight for their freedom and for their country. So
Yes.
it's a very complicated thing when you have people that are divided, and like you said, in the
Sure.
opposition, if they can collectively be a strong opposition and have their candidate, so
Yeah.
that will be supported by a lot of people. I don't know if people outside of Turkey, like the Turkish citizens, can have, like in the US, we have the absentee ballot, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's also the same in Turkey.
They can vote, of course, if they are Turkish citizens. They also vote in Norway and Sweden and Germany and US and all over. And so everybody can influence on what's going on in Turkey if they are Turkish citizens. So we can only hope for that everybody is taking part in that. But as you say, it is hard because it is a very divided country now. It has been a divided country for a long time, actually, between the West, the Mid, and the Kurdish people in the East. So you can see the country is in a way split in three parts. But I think it's time for a better future for Turkey. To stabilize the economy and creating a new situation where you have freedom of speech, no journalists in prison, and human rights are taken seriously. That is what we have to hope for. Merge, no, you are disappearing too.
Colonel,
Yeah,
can we check your audio and see if it works?
So, thank you. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Sorry.
So, okay.
Sorry.
So let's continue. Let's continue on. Mr. Lawrenson, this kind of dialogue, we have started it, and Colonel Demirtas and Dr. Bayram Arzuramalo, they are they are the advisors, and so we want to keep the dialogue. We want to keep pushing for this kind of conversation, and maybe next year we can invite you to be our advisor and panelist, because we want to continue watching what's happening. And I think just having the dialogue, to me, maybe it's not enough. I don't know what else we can do as educators, as members of the global community who understand what's going on. We feel the pain of the people, we understand their suffering. I want to do more. And it's very challenging, it's very hard, but I think when every time that we say something, that we listen to and share stories of people who are experiencing torture, and it's just like we're saying that there's a new form of genocide. The systematic torture, it's not just torture in Turkey, but there's a systematic torture that is a tool of a new form of genocide that is unfortunate. And so like we said, that maybe there's more we can do, because okay, the dialogue, we talk, but I don't know what else. Maybe the reason why I'm not teaching at the university, I'm traveling the world, instead of sitting teaching at a university, maybe some kind of role, but maybe each of us have a role to play in helping a community that's become so vulnerable, and like what's happening in Ukraine. It's very hard to understand this kind of cruelty, this kind of atrocity that's being committed to innocent people and animals. It's hard. And what do we do? I don't know. So you, Mr. Lorenzen, you are a scholar, you are experienced in this. Maybe next year we can ask for your guidance, and we can ask you to come on board and be our advisor. Will that be okay for you?
It would be wonderful. I'm more than glad to participate and take part in that. It would be just an honor for me.
Thank you so much. So is there a follow-up? And my question to you as a filmmaker, what is going to be next? Is there a part two?
Yes, I've been working on the idea of making a part two, and I'm collecting. All the time I'm collecting material, and a lot of people around in the world, they are collecting evidences and breaking down the evidences, sort of evidences that Erdogan was put forward about the coup attempt. So it's a lot of new material, but it's I'm still waiting for the sort of the main people to talk. Very few of the main participants in the night has been able to talk. That can be the leaders of the military. That is, they were there taking the decisions. It can be also pilots of helicopters and jets that was flying that night. It can be, of course, others that have been imprisoned and perhaps being released. Like now we saw one teacher that was talking about the torture he has been facing in the after the coup attempt. So we need more clear spoken stories from the people that was there that night on either of the side, and I think that will come. That will come, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking for the sort of the breakthrough evidence about what was really happening, because as I'm quite sure that what the German intelligence, what the Norwegian intelligence, what the EU intelligence, what the Americans are saying, that they don't think it is Fethullah Gulen that is behind this coup attempt. Then who is behind it? How was it planned? You know, who sparked it? Which heads were sitting together around the table and planning? You know, one day we will know that, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think, Mr. Lawrence, there's a lot of accounts from people, like records of it, like the Colonel Demirtas. Yeah, he's got documents, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of, data. Colonel, right? You have gathered so many that is going to be very valuable during the
Yes.
time when the justice, he will be facing justice. Erdogan and his government will be facing justice.
Yes.
It's recorded, all these things. So for me, I truly believe I was in the United States when the coup was happening, and I was doing a different project when a member of the Istanbul PD joined the live broadcast, and he shared what was happening live. And so this is my waking up moment of to learn more about what's happening in Turkey. And ever since, it's been a passion of mine, and I have so much compassion and affection for the Turkish people. And I cry when I see those babies are imprisoned with their mothers, and I cry when I see the videos in your documentary, and Melek Chutinkaya, and she's fighting so hard for the release of all the cadets in prison. They don't deserve to be there, and it's very hard. But
It's
I
very,
think
very
if
loud.
yes, I think it's if
And
every
still,
person.
and still there are tens of thousands of people in prison in Turkey that are totally innocent.
Yes,
Totally innocent. And that
yes.
is for sure.
So, Colonel, thank you very
Shall-
much.
Shall we try? Do you hear me now? Do you hear
Yes.
me? Can you
Sorry,
understand
difficult to hear
me?
you.
Still we have problem, yeah?
Still very bad.
It's okay,
Sure.
but we have
So-
Colonel. We have the next live broadcast is the finale of the Global Dialogue for Justice, where I'm going to be in Poland, and I invite you, Mr. Lawrence, if you have time, if you have the time, if you're
Thank
free,
you.
Colonel. We are going to do a repeat on tonight's broadcast, and I'm gonna be in Poland, and I'll be skydiving. I will launch the project called Fly for Justice, and I dedicate it to all the victims of torture, both people and animals. And it's gonna be it's strong. And at the same time, we'll have a conversation, continuing the conversation about what's happening in Turkey, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Yemen, in Syria, and in the Uyghurs in China. It's very important that we have to keep our eyes open, and we should never remain silent in the face of this kind of injustices. So thank you very much, Mr. Jürgen Lorenzen, and thank you very much, Colonel Huseyin Demirtas, and to our viewers and to the participants of the Global Dialogue for Justice. We'll see you soon. We'll see you in Poland. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.